Everyone assumes that 30 years of aging costs you more than 3 weeks in bed. For these 5 men, it was the other way around. They were 20 years old in 1966. Healthy, active, measured in a lab in Dallas, and then put on strict bed rest for 3 weeks. 30 years later, the same 5 men walked back into the same lab. Their own researchers concluded that the 3 weeks hit physical work capacity harder than 3 decades of aging did. By the end of this video, you will know why, where that comparison stops being true, and what 6 months of training did to all of it. Start with the number underneath all of this. Aerobic capacity. How much oxygen your body can actually use under load. It is the best measure marker we have for how much work you can do. Across 30 years, those 5 men lost 11% of it. 3.3 liters per minute at 20, 2.9 at 50. That is the price of 3 decades. Now the 3 weeks. Same men, same lab, 1966. Aerobic capacity fell from 3.3 liters per minute to 2.4. 27% gone in 21 days. Per kilogram of body weight, 43 down to 31.8. 3 weeks of lying still cost them more than the following 3 decades of living. So it actually broke. Here is the detail that makes this study famous, and it is easy to miss. Their maximum heart rate did not fall. It went up slightly, from 193 to 197. The oxygen extraction in the muscle did not change either. Every bit of that 27% came from one place: how much blood the heart pushed out with each beat. Stroke volume fell from 104 milliliters to 75, which raises the obvious question: why would 3 weeks of lying down shrink what a heart delivers per beat? The first answer is volume. Stop moving and your body sheds plasma, the fluid part of your blood, within days. Less fluid means less filling, and a heart that is filled less pushes out less. In 1986, a group tested that directly. Trained athletes stopped training for 2 to 4 weeks. Blood volume dropped 9%, stroke volume 12%, aerobic capacity 6%. Then the researchers infused the missing volume straight back, and the losses reversed. Aerobic capacity came back to within 2 to 4% of the train value without a single training session. That is not a correlation. That is cause tested inside the same people. The second answer is slower and structural. Under longer bed rest, the heart muscle itself gets smaller. Left ventricular mass fell 8% over 6 weeks in a controlled study, and another 7.5% by week 12. 2 clocks then. Filling drops within days. Mass follows over weeks. That order is why 3 weeks can undo so much so fast, while the muscle itself barely notices. Because the muscle really does barely notice. Its aerobic enzymes fall with a half-life of around 12 days, but settle 50% above an untrained person. The early collapse is central. The peripheral part comes later. Now the turn. That headline comparison, 3 weeks against 30 years, has an expiry date, and the same research group published it themselves. They followed the men for 40 years instead of 30. Over that longer window, the decline from aging was 26%, against 27% from the bed rest. Aging caught up. The headline holds for 30 years, not forever. And the 2 losses are not even the same injury. Bed rest left oxygen extraction untouched and took the stroke volume. Aging in these same men did the opposite. The extraction accounted for the entire decline. Same number, opposite physiology. One more piece of honesty in the numbers. Over those decades, the men gained about 25% in body weight and doubled their body fat. A real part of the per kilogram decline sits in the denominator, not in the engine. Which brings us to the question you actually came with. You are not spending 3 weeks flat on your back. You get an injury, a flu, a stretch of work that swallows the month. What does that cost? Far less. 21 days of no training at all costs around 7%, against 27 for 21 days horizontal. Distance runners who stopped for 14 days lost 4%, from 61.6 to 58.7. Lying down is the aggressive version. Simply not training is the mild one. Most people quietly assume they are in the first case when they are in the second. And the maintenance dose is smaller than almost anyone expects. Athletes cut from 6 to 10 hours a week down to a single 35-minute session, and their aerobic capacity held for 4 weeks. For 0.57 liters against 4.54. With one caveat that matters. Their endurance performance still dropped 21%. The number held, the ability to hold a pace did not. Maintenance protects the engine, not the race. So back to the 5-minute 50, standing in that lab for the third time. They trained for 6 months. Not hard intervals from day one. The load was raised slowly, landing at 250 minutes a week. Aerobic capacity rose 14%, from 2.9 liters per minute back to 3.3. That is the exact value they had at 20. 100% of 30 years of decline reversed in 6 months. And here's the part that usually gets cut. Not one of them reached the level they had after training back in 1966. They finished about 15% below their own younger trained selves. The gain also came from a different place. Their maximum cardiac output did not move at all. The improvement was peripheral in the muscle. They got the capacity back without getting the younger heart back. One honest note about the size of this. 5 men, no women, no control group, and 30 years of life that nobody supervised. Anyone who measures 5 people for 3 decades does not get a truth about the population. What they get is something no population study could deliver. The same hearts, the same lab, 3 times across a lifetime. And these 5 made it to 60 and stepped back on the treadmill, which is a selection, and it points upward. So the lesson is not that aging is harmless. Over 40 years, it catches up, and it damages a different part of the system. The lesson is that the interruption is the part you can plan around, and the way back is measured in months. If this changed how you think about time off, subscribe so the next breakdown finds you, and grab the free longevity guide in the description.